Hi everyone. In this session, I'm going over how to use AWS tool for Windows PowerShell and connect to your AWS account and manage the services you opted for. So before we start, there are a few prerequisites that we need to follow. You must have an AWS account. You should have a version of PowerShell which is V2 or later releases. You have to install AWS tool for Windows PowerShell, which you can see right now. To download this, you can go to https://aws.amazon.com/PowerShell. Here you will see this download option. Just double click and it will start downloading AWS tool. So as I have already downloaded and installed on my machine, so I don't need to reconfigure it, but it's very simple. Just double click the MSI file and it will ask you a couple of options to accept the privacy document, and then next as normally Windows tools do, and that will be installed. You can use PowerShell commandlets, or you can use PowerShell ISC to use it. Run the PowerShell ISC with administrative privileges. Now let's switch over to AWS to use PowerShell with it. Um, Let me quickly bring up my PowerShell ISC. So, so to start with, what we have to do is we have to set up the environment first. But before that, uh, what we have to do is, sorry for the delay, my machine just hung up. What we have to do is we have to get the execution policy uh, to set up for remotely signed. So we can get the execution policy. If it is not, then just scope it and force it. Normally you might receive an error that the policy is overwritten and it is set back to unrestricted mode, so we use the scope and force option. So let's set it up and let's clear the result set as well, so that it will be easy for you to see. Once that is done, we let's see if the execution policy is properly set, and let's execute this. Right, so these are the policy lists right now here. Now we need to initialize AWS, the one which we have installed right now. So for this we will use initialize AWS defaults. So let me just comment this up and let's execute it. Now the initialize AWS default has been in. Let's now the second step is you have to import the AWS PowerShell module. So let's quickly do it. Wait. So this is AWS PowerShell which we are going to import, and it's imported without any issues. So the another one is also is that let's see that how many modules do we have on this. So we have this AWS PowerShell right now, so it's good to go. If you wanted that every time you open PowerShell ISC or PowerShell, and the module should automatically get uploaded, so what you need to do is you have to update this information in the profile. So you normally find this Microsoft.PowerShell ISC underscore profile.ps1. Just go and add these commands there, and every time you know load the PowerShell, um, uh, AWS PowerShell module will be loaded. Now what we have to do next as a step is that we need to set the AWS credentials. So let's get and set up the AWS credentials. So for that, you will use this command. Let's set -AWS credentials. You need to pass your access key. Don't use mine, use yours, and then the secret access key. And you can set up this particular AWS credential with a profile name. This profile name is, for your reference, that I'm going to use this particular profile to connect to AWS. So now let's go ahead, and it's the AWS credential has been set. Now to see the AWS credentials, you can use the command called get-AWS credential list minus list a credential. So it will give you the profile name as well. So if you can see, one is the default one and one is the one which I have made. The default one is when I loaded the PowerShell. Now we have to initialize the AWS defaults again, but this time we are going to initialize it with our profile name and the region where our services are. So I am based in Singapore, so I'm going to use the service as AP-Southeast -1, and I'm going to initialize it now, and I'm going to use the same profile name as you can see, which I have just created. So it's done. Now once it is loaded, now you can start connecting to all the services of AWS. Let me give you an example. I don't have any such service in my AWS right now, so but it's still just to show you that this is get-ec2 instance minus profile name. This is the profile name because it will automatically use my access key and my secret key. So I don't have any EC2 instances, so it doesn't return any information to me. But let me show you that how you can pull up the information about the AWS command names. So it will give you all this. So now for EC2 instances you can use get-ec2. For ops instances you can use get-op instances. Now because I'm only using the SQL Server RDS on AWS right now, so I'm going to show you how to work with SQL Server with PowerShell on AWS. So before we could start, we need to import a module called SQL PS, SQL PowerShell. So let me just add it here and run it so that the module can be loaded. You can see that my module has been loaded. Now what I have to do is I have to see my instance name and everything on the shared virtual private cloud for RDS. So I will use get-rt as db instance. This is the commandlet to use it, and these are the table column names which I'm going to pull it. So you will see that this is dbt2 micro instance. My identifier is self-role. Database instance is available. The engine is Express. Engine version is SQL Server 2012, and the endpoint is Amazon RDS model endpoint. Now if I have to execute any other code to manage my databases, so we can use invoke-SQL cmd command of SQL PS, and we can pass the endpoint name of my RDS, my username and my password and everything, and we can just go ahead and execute, and you will see how many databases do I have. So this is how basically you will connect to AWS using PowerShell. So that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.